Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's stream. Lewis, mic check. Everything working?
Yep. Can you hear me? I can hear you
I
fine.
can hear you. Awesome. Always exciting when things work. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys, for the technical difficulties. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I could not figure out how to put the starting soon screen. So we just had
yeah,
to make sure people had time to join. But yeah, we're excited to be here today. Just let's do some quick introductions. I'm James Clancey. I'm head of developer relations at Locofy. And I'm here to show off how we can work on this design together. And you want to go ahead, Lewis?
yeah. Thank you, James. I'm Luis, software engineer here at BuildShip. I just want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day to join us on the stream. I think you're not going to regret it, guys. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, a little bit about what we want to build. We want to build just kind of a little app that will show yeah. Sorry, I'm losing my words. We want to build like kind of like a ride hailing app where we'll also show like recommendations of what to do when you get there. So, just to start, I'll start by showing my screen, just so we can see the design we're going to be working with. So, this is a Figma design. And one of our designers built this here at Locofy, and it has a start, destination, search, and then some recommendations, which is pretty exciting. Now, to do this, we're going to kind of break this stream into a couple different parts. We're going to balance between using the design and also going to the back end. And we thought it'd be fun to actually start with the back end today. And so we know what we're going to build, and we're going to let Lewis go through and share how to build the back end for this using BuildShip.
Yep. Excited for it. Thank you, James. I'm going to share my screen now. So if you can let me know, anyone
You're
in.
up, infinitely up.
Oh, okay. My screen is already shared.
Yeah, sorry about that. I clicked the button a little too fast.
Okay. Great. So, guys, let me just give a quick introduction about BuildShip before we start working on our backend for the app that James just showed. So, BuildShip is a low-code tool that you can use to create powerful and flexible APIs. So, you can use it to create database CRUD operations. You can use it to create scheduled tasks. You can even use it to process payments using our Stripe trigger. Don't worry if you don't know what trigger is or what any of this means. We're going to look at how we can create a workflow from scratch step by step. So BuildShip provides a bunch of integrations made conveniently for you guys to use by the BuildShip team. And today we're actually going to be showing for any developers who are watching in the chat that even though BuildShip is a low-code tool, you can still use BuildShip to create custom functionality. You can use the generate with AI feature that we offer to generate custom functionality based on your business logic. Or if you want to get crazy, you can create complete nodes from scratch using code. So all of the BuildShip nodes run on top of the Node.js runtime. So if you're familiar with Node.js and JavaScript, you should feel right at home. So with that being said, I'll switch over to BuildShip, and now I'm going to be creating this workflow from scratch. So as James just explained, what we'll be building is kind of like a traveling app. So a user will be able to enter their current address and a destination. And our app will calculate the distance travel, the duration, and the estimated cost. And for the estimated cost, we're actually going to be showing how you can use the generate with AI feature to generate this calculation. And then at the bottom, we're just going to show some recommendations or nearby places. So this can be stuff like restaurants, shopping centers, etc. So let's get started. I'll just hop over into BuildShip and I'll start by creating a brand new workflow here. And we're just going to call this traveling backend. And we'll hit create. And so the first thing that we'll need to select here is a trigger. Now, there's a bunch of triggers that BuildShip offers. So when we talk about a trigger here in the context of BuildShip, what we mean is that you have a workflow and the entry point of any workflow will always be a trigger. And a trigger is just responsible for executing your workflow, hence the name. And so in this demo, we'll be using the REST API call trigger. But as you can see from my screen, we have a bunch of triggers available. So we have triggers available if you want to upload files directly from the client. We have a schedule cron trigger for running scheduled tasks. If we scroll down, you can see that we have a Stripe webhook trigger for processing Stripe events. And there's a bunch more. Um, but for now, we just want to select the REST API call trigger because what we want to do at the end of our workflow is when we ship it, we want to get access to a publicly accessible API endpoint that I'll be able to share with James so that he can integrate with our front end. So I'll add this trigger, and then it's pretty basic, the configuration for this. So we just need to specify a unique path that we haven't used anywhere in our existing BuildShip workflows, and then an HTTP method. So for the path, I'll just enter calculate distance, and then for the method, this is going to be a post request. So we'll select that. Before I move on to adding any nodes here, one thing that I want to do is show you how you can specify the outputs of this trigger. So in our app, we know that we're going to be sending two values in the request payload. That is a start and end addresses. So I want to show you guys because we're going to be using these values across multiple nodes, and BuildShip provides a unique way for you to edit the fields in the request body. So if we go to edit the trigger and we can edit the output, and specifically what we want to do here is we want to add two fields to the body. We want to add a start. So this is going to be a starting address. And so we just specify a key here, a label. We can optionally specify a description if we want. And then we want to add a second one. This is going to be for the destination. We'll just call this end, and we'll say end. Now, when our client or Locofy client makes a request to our BuildShip workflow, we can easily access these two values from the request payload. You'll see what I mean in just a sec. So I'll save this, and so far so good. Now, what we want to do in this demo is showcase some of our less covered nodes, integration nodes that is, that we've created for you guys. And this is nodes coming from the Google Maps group. So what we want to do here is just to show you guys step by step what I'm doing here, we'll add a new node. So in BuildShip, workflows are comprised of multiple nodes. So we'll add a node here, and we want to select as you can see, there's a bunch of integrations that we have created for you guys. Um, but the one that we want is under the Google Maps group. And so the one we're actually going to be using two nodes from this group in this demo. So we're going to be using the calculate distance one. So this we will be using to calculate the distance between the start and end addresses. And we're also going to be using the get nearby places to retrieve our recommendations that we're going to display in our app. So let's start by adding the calculate distance node here. Um, in every BuildShip node, there'll always be some documentation attached to that node. So for this one, calculate distance, we can click on this info icon and we can see a brief description about the node. So this one will calculate the distance between two addresses using Google's directions API. So guys, if you want to use this node, you'll need to enable the directions API in your project. So you can click on this link, and if you have multiple projects, this will bring up like a project selector. And you can select your project here to enable the API. If you're unfamiliar with what your project ID is, one quick way that you can find it is if you look in the URL here in BuildShip, this is the project ID. Another way to do that is if you go to settings, we have the project ID here. Okay. So if I head back to the console, you can see that this is the project we're using. And I already have this enabled, but if you want to follow along or later use this demo, because we're going to be having this as a template in our templates library, then you're going to need to enable the directions API. I already did that. And then the next thing that we need to do is get a API key so that we can start interacting with these different APIs from Google. We have a link here that you can follow using their documentation to do that. It's pretty straightforward. There is one thing that I would like to show you guys. So if I head back here, I want to go to the credentials section of the console. So I'll just click here, go to credentials page, and then I'll select my project. So I already created my API key. I'm not going to expose the API key in this video, but the
Oh, you're
important
no fun.
yeah. But the important thing that I want to showcase here is that by default, when you create an API key here, it will be a generalized API key that you can use to access most Google APIs. but it's more safer for you to actually restrict your API keys. So you can see here for this one, I have three API keys that this API key can access. So I can actually show you if we go to the edit API key here, you have the ability, if we scroll down, to select to restrict the key and then select what APIs um, your API will need to use. In our case, you can see that we've selected three APIs here: the directions API, the geocoding API, and places API. Okay, that's all I wanted to show in the console. So I'll switch back to BuildShip, and now I'll select my API key. So I already created this. I'll go to secrets, and it's this one, Google API key. By the way, guys, if you don't already have a secret or you need to create one, it's that simple to do that. You can do this natively in BuildShip. You just go to Add Secret Key. This will be stored securely in the Google Secret Manager. Um, so we've saved that. And now we have here the two important parts of this node where we're going to select our origin, which is the starting address, the destination, and our mode of transportation. For our mode of transportation, we're just going to say, let's say driving. Um,
Driving
this-
safest.
yeah, yeah. Since this is like an Uber like calculation thing we're doing, so we're gonna select driving. Now for the origin and destination. So guys, remember I edited a API call trigger and I added two output fields, start and end. So this is where we're going to be using it. So for the origin, we'll select that. We'll go to request, body, and then start. Destination, we're going to do the same thing. This time we only want to select the end. Cool.
That's
Um,
awesome. I do have a question though. Is
yeah.
there any way to do like any like cleansing or checking of those inputs? Because that's really cool. You can just take those variables and do it. But is there like validation of some sort? Um,
Um, so
API
you
calls can get expensive, so I don't know if you want to cleanse it or check it first,
can
make sure no one's doing anything nefarious.
Yeah, so you can add like a preprocessor step to add validation to this. I believe we have a validation node. It's called object validation,
Oh, that's awesome.
where we could like validate the the type of the values we're sending in these fields. So that's only like you know how you have an API and you can
Mhm.
do validations on a certain set of fields, then you would use something like this object validation node. If you want to go beyond that, then you can write like your own custom validators using a starter node, which is like an empty node in BuildShip that you can, if you're a developer, you can customize to no limits really. I'm
Oh,
actually
that's
going
awesome.
to, yeah, I'm actually going to be showing a basic usage of that when we get to calculate, not calculate distance, but where we calculate the
Recommendations.
estimated cost.
Oh, the estimate cost.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. Um, Yeah, so that was a good question. So one thing I want to show here is that while you're building your workflows in BuildShip, you don't have to complete the entire workflow for you to actually start testing. So you have here the ability to test the entire workflow. We're not going to do that yet because our workflow isn't finished. But what we can do is we can calculate, we can actually test a single node. So for example, this calculate distance. Let's actually check the underlying code for this because if you're any developers watching, I want to show to you guys that this is using Node.js and it's running on top of a Node.js runtime. So if you're a JavaScript developer, this should, I mean, look pretty familiar, right? We're using Axios here to make a fetch request. In actuality, we could use native fetch here because Node now supports that. But I just wanted to demonstrate here that you can use dependencies, all the npm packages that you are familiar with. Then you can there's no limit. You can use that in BuildShip as well. Actually, if you go to the info panel here, we have a dependency section here, and you can see the dependencies that our node is using and the exact versions, and you can actually switch between versions, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, that's
um,
impressive.
yeah. But what I wanted to showcase here was that you could test this node. We can test this right away. So let's see that in action. To do that, we'll click on this play icon. So it already has my API key selected. So origin and destination. Again, I'm just going to enter something relative to where I am. So I'll just enter Bell Mo. whoops, and if I can type correctly. So this is in Belize where I live, and then the destination will just be like Belize City if I want to travel there. So we already have our mode of transportation selected to driving. So I'll just test this node and let this run, and we should get the outputs we're seeking. Nice. So if you can see here, we got back a JSON object, right, which refills. We get the distance in meters. We get a readable version of the distance, so 79 kilometers, and then an approximate duration, which is like 1 hour and 12 minutes. Um, if you're actually curious how these output values are structured, we can bring up the code panel again. If we go to output here, this is where we can specify the outputs of our node. So you can see that the values that our test just returned, they're right here. We have the distance meter, the calculated distance, distance readable, and duration. So that's how you can test an individual node in BuildShip as you're working on your workflow, just to make sure that everything is working, right? So now that we're now that we've verified that we can calculate the distance that we're going to be getting from our client, the next thing that we want to add here is we want to figure out some way to calculate the cost. Um, so guys, if you remember from our design, we have like this estimated cost. We already have the duration and
And the
distance.
distance, yeah.
Yeah. But estimated costs, we're going to showcase BuildShip's generate with AI feature for this. And then I'm going to show you kind of like a high level how you can do the same thing from scratch, because we're going to be using a very basic linear rate for this calculation. But for anyone who wants to try this and they have a more advanced calculation, then I want to show that there's really no limitations here. So to begin, I'll just go to add a node again. And then you notice at the top how we have this generate tab. So we'll select this. And this is sort of how we organize the way for you guys to structure a prompt to generate a node. Um, so if you notice, we have it like breaking apart in three separate fields. So in BuildShip, a node is kind of like the same way. The structure of a node is breaking up in three components. You have your inputs, you have the actual logic of the node, and you have your return values. So this is kind of what we're trying to do here in the structure of this prompt, so that we can have like better results when we generate your node. And you can even pass additional context here if you want, right? Which we're not going to be doing here because this is going to be a pretty basic prompt that the AI should not struggle with. So yeah. So
Always the magic words. AI is perfect until it's not.
yeah, exactly. So here, what I'll say is given. We want to say given distance travel in meters. So distance travel in meters, I want to calculate calculate the cost of the distance traveled using a linear rate. And linear rate here, just a fancy word for saying that we want to calculate the distance traveled by a fixed rate. And then what we want to return is the calculated cost. Like I was saying, we don't need to pass any additional context for this. If you were generating a much more advanced node, um, maybe using some external API, then what you can actually do is copy documentation and paste it here as context, and the AI would give better results. So I'll just click generate with AI, and this shouldn't take too long. So let's just wait a minute and see what we get. Um, so let's wait. So while this generating, this will generate the the logic itself, which is the code, and it will also generate the input configurations as well as the output configurations. So we can see that the generation is successful. Well, we'll verify if it was by looking at the code panel. But here we can see that we have two inputs, right? This one is for whoops. So this one is for the meters, And then this one is for the rate per meter, which is looking good. But let's take a look at the code. And yeah, this is what we want. Like I said, we just wanted to multiply the meters traveled times a fixed rate. And we just that's our calculation for this demo. um, but I can show you that in the process of generating this node with AI, it generated the input configurations for us. So we have the distance meters, we have the rate per meter, and we can see the distant meters, like the type, the AI was able to infer the type successfully here. So it's a number, and the rate per meter is also a number. If we switch to the output tab, oops. So it looks like it messed up here, but that's okay. It's not. It's so the thing here is that it's not specifying what we want to return, which is the calculated cost. Remember, in our node logic, that's what we're returning here. So this will be a number. So our AI forgot to add that for us. So we need to add it ourselves, but that's okay. We expect these things to happen from time to time.
Yes, we do.
So what we'll do is we'll add a new output and we'll just call, well, we just need to give it a label. We'll say calculated cost. And for the type here, we know it's going to be a number. Okay. And we can click save after that. And now we can start filling in the values for this. So in BuildShip, like I said in the beginning, a workflow is composed of multiple nodes, and nodes can consume the return values of other nodes. So what we want to do here, distance meter, we want to use the meters that we calculated in our Google node at the top here. So to get that, we can go here, and then we want to go to the variables, and then calculate distance. And then this is where we can see all the outputs here. The one that we want is the distance meters. Now for the rate per meter, what we could easily do is just enter something like 0.01 here, right? But
That's a
let's
cheap ride. I like that. You should
yeah.
come run our ride sharing up here.
Yeah. But let's imagine that we are going to be using or referencing this value in a bunch of other workflows. Then think about it, right? What if in our business we decide to change the rate per meter? Then we're going to have to go to each of those workflows where we have this value hard coded and change it. So that can be very tedious and error prone, right? But in BuildShip, we have a better way of doing this, and this is by using environment variables. I think this is a good use case for our environment variables so that we can store this and access this across the board. So let me show you guys how to do that. Here on this three ellipses, actually not there. Here on the little edit icon, we're gonna select that, and then under variables, actually no, am I missing the? Okay, yeah, we so we moved it. Now when you just focus on the input, you can see how we have environment variables here.
Mhm.
So you can select this, and I was playing around earlier, just making sure everything works for this demo, but we can create a new one, and I'll just add a new environment variable. We'll just add it. So for the key, we'll set it to rate, and the value. What do you think, James? Do we make it cheap or should we go with something more
You
higher?
know, so we're doing meter, not miles. So 1 cent a mile is pretty low, but it's our meter. We can go with it. Why not? Let's see how it calculates.
Okay, so we're just gonna go with what I had before, which was 0.01.
You're even nice and don't even account for time. That's the thing with your nice little fancy linear one.
Yeah, well, we're in our MVP stage. We just wanna
Yeah.
quickly get this thing out and make sure we get some users, then we can change all of that. Um,
No surge pricing. Yeah, you should definitely run ride shares. All right. Go go for it.
yeah. Um, okay. So yeah, I'm adding a new environment variable here. I've selected the key to be rate and I've entered the value. And then for the scope, so you can have it tied to this workflow only, but we're thinking big here. We're envisioning that we're going to be using this in multiple workflows. So we're going to say all workflows on this project, and then we can hit save.
And I'm
Um,
guessing you can probably change that later, make it
yeah,
broaden the
you
scope or
yeah
limit it.
yeah you can just edit if you want. And the good thing about this is that will reflect for other workflows where you're referencing this environment variable.
Awesome.
Um, so I'll close this out now, and I'll instead of having it hard coded here, I'll go. Whoops, sorry, I'm used to that. Select it, the input again, and then I'll go to environment variables, and I'll select the one we just created. Okay, so let's go back to our beautiful design here. And with that, we've now have enough functionality where we're calculating the distance, duration, and estimated costs. But there's one more piece here that we need to generate, and that's the recommended places. Um, oh wait, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I just I just remembered that I said I was going to show how you can, if you have a much more like advanced
Complicated.
calculation that you want to do, and you feel like you want to write that logic out on your own, then you can do that in BuildShip as well. So to do that, you can just add a new node, and you're going to want to use an empty skeleton node to begin, conveniently named empty node. And um, so let's say that you want to have your own custom logic here. So the first thing you'll need to do is add inputs, right? So this is going to be a bit more manual than with the generate with AI feature that I just showed you. Um, but you can decide what choice is best for your use case. But you'll need to add a field here. For example, we can enter like what we just did, rate, and then we can have like distance, right? So we're adding these input fields manually. Um, and then in the node logic here, this is where you can, if you're a developer and if we have any developer watching, you can add whatever logic you want here. You can add whatever code you want here. You can use any NPM package as I just showed in our earlier
Yeah.
node
Make a
where
request,
yeah,
push to other
where we were
workflows. Yeah, that's exciting.
yeah, so there's really no limits here. And then the final thing that you need to do here is just specify the output of your node, right? So we're just using primitive types here, but if you want, you can use an object, you can use an array. It doesn't matter, right? So I just wanted to show that you have, when it comes to customization, there's really no limits because you can use or generate with AI feature, and it works in most instances as long as your prompt is pretty good, and if you provide additional context, it will work pretty reliable. But if you want to go a level beyond that, then you can start from scratch, right? Um, so I just wanted to quickly show that. So now I'll just delete this, and back to what I was going to say, there's just one more piece that we need to add here, and that is returning the the
The
nearby,
recommendations.
yeah,
Yeah.
the recommendations relative to our destination. So let's do that. We're going to be using another integration node here. So one thing about these integration node guys is that we take feedback from you guys. So what you guys are interested in, what you share in the comments, or what you share in our Discord community, this is what we prioritize. And the BuildShip team builds these integration nodes for you guys. So if you have any ideas of what you'd like to see us add here, then please feel free to share those with us in the comments or in our Discord community. But I'll just scroll down to the. Oops, I
That's a
think I.
huge list. Yeah. You're gonna have to keep scrolling.
Yeah, yeah. So it's here, Google Maps, and then this is the one we want. Get nearby places. Again, if you want to see, there's some information associated to this node, and we can see that for this one in particular, you need to have two APIs enabled. This is the Places API and the Geocoding API. You're going to want to have that API key created ahead of time as well, as I've shown earlier in the video. And once you do that, you're all set. So because I've already done that, I can now just come in here and start filling out these input fields. Again, the first one here is for our API key, so I'll just select the same API key. And then here, this is the address that we want to return places relative to. So this will be our destination. Again, we will reference this from our request body, and this will be the end field. So that's our destination. Here we can select like the radius within, like we can have like a radius relative to the destination. For now we're just going to leave this to 5,000, and this is like in meters, so only places within this radius will be returned. And then here we can specify like the different types of places that we want to return. There's a bunch really that you can select. We have only added a few here, but there's a lot more actually. But here we have some of the more common ones that you're probably going to want to use. So by default we have restaurant selected, but you can select store and hotel. Is there any other one, James, that we
No,
should select?
honestly, that's good enough for a little demo.
Yeah.
Restaurants make sense, stores, yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just select those.
And
And
honestly, you'd probably want to expose that to the user at some point, like, "Hey, what do you want? What do you care about?" But it's all
yeah,
good.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
keep it simple. Demo code.
yeah. That's a good point. Okay. So just as we did with calculate distance, I want to verify that this is working. I don't want to share with James a broken API endpoint. So let's just test
I
this out.
appreciate that. Make my part easier.
Yeah, let's test this out. My API key is already selected. Radius, the type, restaurant, maximum amount of places we want to return set to 5. All we need to enter here is an address. So I'll just enter one from where I am, Lee City. We'll run this. Whoops, did it not? Okay,
Does it
let's
only
try
like
it
one?
again. Let's try it again. Let's
Oh, type is not an array.
whoops. Okay, that's okay. Oh no. Well,
I
we might
see.
have we might have run into a bug.
No, I think it's because you manually type did you manually choose restaurant there? It expected an array.
Yeah, it expects an array. Well, I guess we can just
Just check more
oh,
than one or yeah, make
we
manually
can
make array.
yeah, we'll
Just
just
do
hard code this for now. Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
restaurant.
Restaurant. Yep, and
Such a
that should
fixable
work.
thing.
Yep, should work. Let's just see. Let's just wait a few seconds. We should get back like a huge array of places that contains useful information such as the business name, their opening hours, the type, ratings, all that good stuff. Um, okay,
Hey, there it goes.
yep. Let's expand so we have a better view. Yeah. So guys, you can see that we return places relative to the address that I entered. You can see that up here. This is the formatted address. We get back some geometry stuff. If we want to render this out like on an actual map, we get back some icons, the name, Midtown Restaurant and Bar. So I can verify that this is accurate because I've been to this restaurant before. Yeah, so this is working. Now the final thing that we need to do in here is just return all of these values from our API. Um, so let's do that.
Including with the distance and rate and the
Yeah,
other data. So
yeah,
we're gonna
precisely.
combine 2 APIs at this point. That's pretty awesome.
Yep. So let's do that. We're going to return these values. So for this, we are going to use the return node. Um, so we need to send back a HTTP code to our client. This is going to be an OK request. And then the important part here is the values we want to return. So for this, you can return like any primitive types you want, like a string, like a number. In our case, we're going to return an object with all these fields, right? Um, So let's think about what we want to return here so that I don't forget anything. We want to, whoops, I can close you, I'll close you. So we want to return the distance, the duration, the estimated cost, and then the nearby places. And for this, let me try to autofill this value with AI. So here
Ooh.
you can see at the bottom, we're gonna use AI
It'll
again.
be perfect every time.
Yeah, let's do this. So we'll autofill with AI, right? So you can see how we have this prompt, describe the data that we want to return. You can see we have an example here. The response from the OpenAI chat. So the cool thing about this is that this generate with AI, it knows the context of your BuildShip workflow. It knows what each node is doing, the inputs of the node. It knows what is being returned. So let's just say autofill return. I want to autofill the calculated calculated cost, distance. Maybe we say
And
distance
duration.
travel, duration, and nearby places. Okay, fingers
I'm
crossed.
excited. I'm excited. It's gonna do it, right?
Yeah, it'll be nice if it does, but we'll find out right now. And oh no. Wait a minute, wait a minute. It did, but the issue is okay. It
It's
did.
manually generating the JSON, so it's
Yeah,
JSON inside of a string instead of
yeah,
an object.
it's not an object, so you can see it's surrounded in these template literals.
So close.
It's close. So let's actually let's fix this. What I'll do is I'll just add it myself for now. We'll say the calculated cost, right? So calculated cost. Um, this value that you're seeing here is actually the output of the calculate travel
Mhm.
cost node. I'll show you what the AI was doing for us. Well, what it tried to do. So if we go to variables, we have this calculate travel cost
Mhm.
node. It just returns a number. We just select it, and that's how we can
That's
specify,
pretty.
which field we want to return. Let's do the next one for the distance. I'll just do that from variables. Um, calculate distance. So this will be. Do we want to return the read? We want to return the human readable version. So
Yeah, yeah.
we'll select that. So distance readable,
Then I don't
and
have to convert it.
yeah, and then the duration as well, which is going to come from that same calculate distance node. That's the duration. And what am I missing? Oh, the places. I can just call this like places, and this is going to come from get nearby places. So this will return an array of objects as I've just shown. Now I can remove that, and this should be good. I'm not missing anything here. I
I
think
don't
this is
think so. I
yeah. I
think that's
think this is
good.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
And that's
cool.
hopefully the same JSON you sent me earlier. If not, we can work it
Yeah,
on the fly.
yeah. Or if the field names are different, then I can
We
just
can fix
easily
it.
change it here.
We'll
Yeah.
have yeah, no big deal. I'm gonna have AI write it anyway, not me.
Okay, perfect. Okay, guys. So that's it for our workflow.
That's
Um,
awesome.
um,
Anything special, you just click the ship button and off it goes, huh?
Yeah, we just this the beautiful part about BuildShip, right? It's a low code tool. You don't have to worry about any of the infrastructure stuff, right? So you don't have to worry about setting up servers, setting up your application framework. By the way, BuildShip gives you a database out of the box. So each project comes with a BuildShip database, which is built on top of Firestore. It
Mhm.
also gives you a storage bucket. Most apps, right? You're going to want to store your user assets like photos, documents, whatever it may be. So it's really nice now that we can just focus on building the business logic of our app. Once we've done that, we can ship our workflow. Oh no! So this is a good example of what I was talking about
You
earlier.
were already yeah, we you
Yeah,
ran through and tested it. He gave me an API yesterday, so I could test.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
So,
okay. Yeah, same name flow, totally
uh,
makes sense. You could have
so
shipped it,
yeah,
but
let's just call this calculate distance
distance of
travel.
travel.
Okay.
There we go. Now you can ship it.
Yeah, let's ship it now.
I
And this
mean,
time it will work, guys.
that just shows how well the product's working because it's name collisions matter. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an API.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So yeah, at this point, our API has been shipped, and at the end of this, you can see that we get a publicly accessible API endpoint. So this is going to be the endpoint that I'll hand over to James, so he can integrate into our Locofy frontend. I just want to test one more time, guys, that our workflow
No
is working
worries.
end to end. So let me show you how we can do that, right? So we're gonna test our entire workflow now. So we'll select test at the top here. This is a post request. We're gonna be sending parameters in the body. This is going to be a JSON, right? So it's going to have two fields. It's going to have, if I can type, it's going to have the start. I'll just use this time a different starting Nasio, please. So this is where I live, and then I'll just put something farther away. So for the end, I'll put.
Anchorage, Alaska.
uh, we can do that, but I don't know how I'll drive all the way there. So I'll just.
No, no, you can. You can do it. You can do it.
Uh, how do you? How do we spell it? Can you say it again for me?
Anchrog.
And C
Chorag.
H
AK.
uh,
One more E,
E
comma, AK. That'll be good enough.
A K.
Yep.
Okay.
Google knows that.
So I'm here.
Let's
This
do
is
it. Let's test it. If we're testing, I mean,
yeah. Let's do it.
let's
Yeah.
do it.
So as you can see, guys, this steps through each
Look
node
at
in
that.
our
4 days.
Yeah.
When this is over, we're doing a road trip.
Yeah. 4 days. Maybe this is also considering we're probably driving nonstop. So yeah. Um, but let's expand our result set here just so that we can see we're returning the value. So we can see we're getting the calculated cost. What is this like? Uh, is this am I seeing this
That is
correctly?
$89,000.
Okay,
Sounds about
well,
right.
I think our calculation might be a bit off. Again, we are using a very basic calculation for this demo. But
And no one's going to ride share
yeah,
4
and I
days.
mean, yeah, yeah. So we may have broken our calculation, but that's okay. We're just testing
It's
here,
all
right?
good.
Um, this is the distance traveled. This is the duration, and then this is some of the recommendations relative to the destination.
Yeah,
So
those are actual restaurants. I'm seeing it.
beautiful, beautiful. So, yeah, James. So we've just went to created our API for our Locofy frontend that you'll be working on. We verified that our BuildShip API is actually working. So I'm now ready to transition over to you. If you want, I can share with you our API endpoint
Nope.
URL.
Yeah,
Or,
just message me that. I have the one from yesterday that I might can use as well, just to be
oh,
safe.
so yeah, yeah. So you can use that. It's the same thing. That's
All
okay.
right. So I'm gonna switch to my screen now. And here we go. So I'm just running Figma, and we've only got a few minutes left. So I'm going to see how fast I can do this. We're going to show what we can do. So here's the goal. We have the Figma design. This is straight from a designer. If you look, I can click through frames, frames. This is a designer thing. I did go through and rename a couple things just to make making components easier for me, but this is designer code. There's no actual buttons here. So that's one of the key things. When a designer builds a button, all they do is they create a frame with an icon and some text, right? That's a button. Now, when you're building a web app, that's not a button, right? You actually need to, if you're building a website, you have objects, you have classes that you need to use for the libraries. So we have this product called Locofy, and it's installed directly inside of Figma. So you can just go up to Figma, go to plugins, and search for Locofy because you're not going to have it as your recents like I do. But search for Locofy and launch it. Now that I've launched it, um, just like Lewis, I've ran this a few times. But so we're actually going to create a brand new project. So we're doing it live. And I'm just going to call this copy two, because why not? And for this demo, we're going to do a website and we're going to be doing React. So our goal here is to convert this design all the way into code. And so as it's doing so, we get to choose which options. I'm going to have it using React, and I could, if I wanted to use JavaScript, but I'm not an animal. I'm going to stick with TypeScript. Sorry, JavaScript people. Sticking with TypeScript because I like type safety. At least fake type safety works. And I'm just going to click create. I could have chose a UI library, but I don't want to for now. We're just going to click let's go. Now, what Lightning is going to do, let me select the frames. I'm going to select both these frames. I actually did not zoom in properly. Zoom to fit. You can see I have both screens, a detail page as well as the main page. We're going to tell it to convert both of those. Now, what it's doing, we have a large design model similar to a large language model, but our LDM is trained on designs rather than text. So if you type text to it, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's all about design structures. So it can go through and scan these designs and figure out what these are in the context. I mean, looking at those, you and I can look at this and say, yes, that's an input. But why isn't this, right? We're trained. Our brains know input versus label. And so we've had to train our AI model to understand that as well. So it is ran and it has now generated code. And I'm just going to drag this up so my share screen little button is not. Can I just drag that? I'm going to drag that to my other screen. There we go. Much better. All right. So now this is running code. I can actually click into stuff. I can show that it's responsive. There's a couple of responsive bugs that we're going to go through and fix, but this is code. This is a website. It's not a design anymore. I can go into, I thought I was, oh, it's not done generating layer names. That part takes the longest. There we go. It's done. It'll reload. Um, I'll fix some other tags later. But now that actually did not mark as an input. So we will fix that. So a couple of things it just didn't do right, but it knows this is a button. In most instances, that works. I should have done material library because that's a material-esque button. But let's fix that. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to edit mode. At this point, I can click around. And as I click, you've noticed it highlights the code of what was being generated. So we can actually see what was created. And I can say, hey, I don't like what it did. It didn't tag that as a button. I'm just going to fix that really quick. That's a button. Had I done material, it would have actually known. Now it's like, what library are you using? I'll just stick with none. All right, so now that's a button. We can now do things to it, which is really exciting. I can just say, let's add an action. We're going to need to search when we click on that. So I'm going to say to do call the amazing build ship, if I can spell, API. All right, so now we're going to have a code function telling us to call that API. These did not tag right, should have, but we'll just say this is an input and we're going to tag this next one as an input as well. So now you can see I can start type. I can actually type in there. So we'll click on over to here. Why that? There we go. Tagging and input. All right. So while that goes, let's fix a couple responsive things because I just want to show how to make the design work a little bit better. Sorry for my blinking screen. Previews reloading. Normally it's way faster than this. I may have to close my plugin. Demos. It's always during a demo stuff hangs.
Yeah, it's
All right.
expected.
Close preview. I know. Let's go back to the preview. I may have to close the plugin and reopen it. Of course this happens. Okay. I'm doing it. We're going to refresh. So the nice thing is, since it already did a scan, if I select these frames, it'll be like, oh, you already did those. Just view the code. So now I don't have to go through the entire generation process again. Just verifies everything's right. And we're back.
Nice.
And it went, oh, I did not select. I only select one of them. I selected the one I wasn't working on. Let me relaunch Locofy. This time I've selected both. User fail. And I'll just say view code. So now we'll see the page we were working on. All right. So let's fix a couple things. One of the things that I don't like in this responsiveness, you'll notice how as we're responding or resizing, that looks a little funny. So we can just go into edit, click on this parent group, not the card. This one, yeah, I'm in the right one. We can go into styling and we'll just edit the style. Instead of, I'm just going to center align. Instead of center line, I'm going to left align because those look better left align, right? It's the way that
Yeah.
should work. Much better. All right. Also, I'm going to do the same thing for these search results. If we go through, that looks terrible, right? So we're going to do the same exact thing there. So let's go back to default. Let's edit, and we are going to left align again. All right. So now as we rescale those, they'll look nice.
Right.
All right. So as we start making this smaller, we'll notice that this search button stuff looks a little funny. Like that doesn't look good. So let's just go to about 514. And I don't have a breakpoint for this. The nice thing is you can start designs don't have a concept of breakpoints. Websites do, right? At this point, this stuff looks funny. So I am going to go and I'm going to add a new breakpoint. So if I'm in there and I'm in the edit style and responsiveness, I can go into here. I can just add a new breakpoint if I just forgot where that's at. No, I thought it was right there. Okay, I just forgot how to add a breakpoint. What we can do is we can add breakpoints in here and we can say, oh, I got to actually go into it and click edit. There we go. I remember where it's at. And we'll add one for 514, just so now we can say at this point, we can tell this button, if we go to edit, let's do that again. It is real live code. So if stuff is not loading properly because of internet connections, you will see it. So I can go into style and responsiveness. And at this point, we can tell this text, um, let's tell this thing right now, we want to tell this thing to fill, right? So we can change its contents to fill container so it can go wide, right? Super nice. So
Nice.
now the button looks better. And so we can go through and change all of these things based on where we're at and the responsiveness at that level. There's a few more design fixes I would like to make, but I'm worried we're not going to have time. But you can see there's plenty. Like I want to make those cards should get bigger. Um, because that looks funny. Let's fix that one really quick because that just looks bad. All right. So if we go to about 650-ish or the 725, we can make these ones get bigger. So this one right now has a max thing. You can actually go into add advanced CSS properties. So I can say max or max width, and I can just say, you know what, unset. Now, me doing it at this level, and actually I should have done on the card, but doing this at this level, it knows from 725 and below now to apply that styling. So as I respond, you can see how those images now get bigger and change and see how they got a lot bigger here and they fill, right? Looks a lot better when they can fill. Like I said, I should have done it on the card. So we'll go down and do the same thing there. Um, Max width, unset, and things can get bigger now. So really, really exciting how you can easily change code live as you're going. All right. One other thing I want to do is I'm going to go back to preview. I want to look at the components. We need this to be a component, and I want to make this search thing a component. Make sure that we can grab data. Oh, that's not tagged during my refresh stuff. Let's retag that as an input so we can get that data out. Done. Done. All right, now we can go back to components. And this one I left the preview, that one I removed it, but we can now type into that. It's real. All right, let's go to code components. So if I click on this card recommendation, since I did give it that name in that frame, as I was showing earlier, it did use that, which is awesome. We can check what properties this has. Okay, this has a lot of properties I don't care about. I don't want to deal with I'm not going to set any of the padding and stuff via code. You can, I'm not going to. All right, so that should be good. That should tell us what's that prop. That one is the dollar sign. So let's rename that. I don't like the name it gave. So instead of prop, we're going to name this price. Done. Um, where we're going, I'm guessing that is wrong. That is the stars. Rating. So we'll give it a rating. AI is not always perfect with names, as you can see. It tries to guess based off the context of the design. This design does not have very many things labeled. It's all frame, 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 frame. So it's doing its best based off the text values it saw. So this is the address. Yeah, AI is not perfect. And this one is the title or the name. I like that better. Oh, name's already used. We'll stick with title. Perfect. Did I have that's the favorite icon. I may have deleted through all of my mass deleting, unless that is, I'm just going to go check inside the design really quick. What's the name of that icon being used just to make sure I can set that image. If not, we can do that later. Come on. There's the recommendation card. Frame. Frame. Okay, selecting the image. It is the background image. So yes, I deleted background image. So I should not have. So let's, easy to fix. Let's add a new property. Not new component name. Let's add a new property. And I don't remember which frame. Frame I shouldn't have deleted it. I don't remember which frame. We'll deal with the image stuff later. No big deal. But now we have a property here, and we can go through and edit this. And you can even see all the different instances of it. It also made a couple other ones. I'm just going to delete this because it got the name wrong and I don't want it. So I'm just going to detach that component. Same thing with this top thing. It turned the top thing into a component. I don't want it as a component. So I can just say, you know what? Let's not make it a component. Perfect. There's only a couple other things I want to do with, I want to make this a component. So if I go to edit, I can choose this frame and say create component. Instead of frame 24, we're going to name this search results. I can't spell, helps to spell, especially when we start using chat GPT later. If I don't spell things right, it will correct my spelling and then my stuff is not named the same thing. So definitely make sure you do that. And then let's actually, I didn't check any of the properties. Um, search results has no properties. So we are going to add that 15 km. We're going to name that distance. Okay. And then we will add, done. Let's add another one. We will add duration, value property. Did I spell duration right? I hope so. If not, that's going to bite me later. All right. And then let's also add the cost. All right. I think we're good there. And awesome. We're good. Now, this is pretty exciting because we can, like I said, we can play with the preview. We can make sure it works. We can view it. We can change properties, change the way it responds. There's a lot more things I'd like to do with the spacing in there, but we are low on time. So I'm going to jump into this and we're happy with those components. And we are just going to actually, did I name those inputs? Let's go do that really quick. Um, let's create a component there. Not there. I want to do the outer thing just so we can grab that value. All right. So let's make a component, create, start, and it added the values for us. Start one of those. We'll edit this as the. We'll leave that there. That looks good. Okay, let's just go. We'll only chew one. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna see if ChatGPT can or GPT can fix it. So now that I'm done, I clicked on that continue to builder. Builder is kind of our playground, our middle between taking the code that's generated here and then doing something with it. It's not an editor. We're not going to edit there, but I'm going to continue to builder and I'm going to tell it to do all frames, right? We'll sync those. And like I said, what Builder does is it's a place to where we can review the code, we can change components. There's a place to do some API integration, export to GitHub, download the zips. That way we can run it. So we can actually go ahead and just export this code directly to Git. If you have an existing repo, you can tie it to that and say, send me a pull request, and it'll do that, which is really exciting just to get to that point. So that code can be updated. Now, the whole goal here is not to make it to where you don't have to write code. We're going to look at this and yes, while it reacts and it is responsive, it's not done, right? We still have to tie into this API. It's not going to do all of that for us. So for that, I am actually going to be lazy and I am going to bring a new window over. So I just told to open in Builder. Let me actually full screen that. And this is awesome. We can view the code again. I didn't change it. If you were not happy with TypeScript and you want to go to JavaScript, you can switch it and it will regenerate all of the code. As soon as I click done, you'll watch it quickly regenerate. But I'm just going to switch it back because I want TypeScript. Um, but it can regenerate the code, change your styles. You don't like the casing, you want to switch to Tailwind instead of CSS modules, you have that option. You can change it to your heart's content. You also do have the file explorer where it's going to show all different files, and this is what's going to be downloaded. If you don't like this, you can change the structure before you sync. And it'll take all that into account and you can browse all of the code and see what's going on there. If I go back to the layers, again, you can switch between common sizes. One of my favorite thing is this view prototype. I can share this link and I can actually paste this into chat. And so I don't know which chats this is going to, but if any of you guys click on that, I think it only went to BuildShip's YouTube. But if you click on that link, you're going to see a working version of this app. You can send this straight off before you've done any coding, before you fixed it, before you've done that work and say, hey, is this right? Is this good? Is there something I need to change? And me messing with the background, deleting the property, it repeated it now across all of them. So that's on me. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you delete properties that you shouldn't. Or you could just send an email, which is really exciting. I should have done an on-click action to where when you click on these, it navigates, and from the other page, we can do it to where if you click the logo in the top corner, it'll take you back to the home page. All of that's possible right inside of the Locofy plugin. And at this point, let's export it. I'm going to sync it to GitHub. It's not. I haven't connected this project with my GitHub or my Git. I'm just gonna I just lost my, oh no, it already went. It off quick. I thought I was gonna have to authorize, so that's why I moved it. We're gonna say, let's create a new repo. And we are going to call this one build ship demo. All right. And I'm gonna click next. And then the first thing I'm gonna do as soon as this pushes, I am gonna go make this thing public right now while it's pushing. So all of you can go to github.com/Clancy and you'll see build ship demo. All right, it's still private. I'm changing permissions, settings. Here, I can bring that over to here. I don't think it's going to ask for password. Well, it will, but I can go to change visibility, change to public. I want to make this public. I understand. I did it. All right. Okay. That is not an issue. Smile to the camera. Yes, it's me. No, I am going to do this off screen just because. All right. Copy OTP. Actually, it didn't share anything, but it's fine. All right, so that's public now. We're back. So BuildShip is now public, and by the time I finished, it populated that. Super awesome. So now I love GitHub desktop app. I prefer it. I normally do Git from a different browser, but that's fine. Okay, so we're going to open this, and it's just going to clone to BuildShip demo. We've now cloned it. I'm going to open this in code. I clicked it, right? Don't want to double open. All right, it's going. And you get to see my awesome background or my awesome, let me make this stuff bigger. All right, so now we can see. So I am going to open a terminal, new terminal, and I'm going to do npmi. We all know how long this takes. Let's get that going. So while that's running, I'm going to run this and we'll look at it locally. Now, I don't want to write all the code to tie these two things together. So I'm going to cheat and we're going to use Chat GPT because why not? All right. So our workflow on that is we're going to have to give it some hints. And I've learned it's a lot easier to give it hints if I write some of my longer prompts, not in Chat GPT itself because it takes forever to do so. So, okay, that's done. So let's do npm. I think it is start is all I need on this one. If you can't remember the commands, you go to the README. Yeah, I just need npm start for this. Perfect. All right, let's open that. Running localhost. We have it. So we can come back to that. Okay, perfect. I like it. I like it. All right, so now what we're going to do is if we go into the app, I think we have a page. I should have not checked the public modules. I think in components, I should have checked where this was at. I think we have our recommendation cards. Let's find all our go-to references. It is being used in didn't I tell that not to make a component? Let me go back to builder. I totally thought I made that not a component. It auto creates components for me and I didn't want it to. So I should have went here, recommendations. It's like, hey, I'm going to detach that. And then we're going to sync again because I don't want that to be it. And frame component one, Yep, that's fine because that's on that other page. I'm not dealing with that one. Oh, I spelled search results wrong. That is fun. Okay, let's change that name. All right, save. I can't spell, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's better. I like it. It did re-recommend that card. I didn't want it, undid it. Perfect. Let's close that. And now I'm going to sync again.
Nice. So James, this just exports to like a traditional Create React app, right? But you have the
Yep.
options to
I
export the other frameworks if you want.
Yeah, like you have all so you have lots of options when you're configuring the project. You'll notice that I had like React.
Mhm,
I could have done Node.js, Gatsby, React Native. You have
mhm,
lots of options when you're at the beginning when you set up the project. You can't change those after the fact, but you can create a project and switch between them on the same design. So, okay, this is like, hey, we've changed a bunch of stuff because you just changed everything. So we're going to push that to GitHub. So yeah, you have full control over configuring all that when you're creating the project. And so, like I said, you can even change between like Tailwind, CSS, whatever
yeah.
you want. So you have lots of control over what we generate. Perfect. Now let's go pull the code since I messed up in my demo. Actually, let's discard that. Let's pull. I shouldn't have to npmi again, but I will probably because I just killed that file. We're just going to do it to be safe. Um, let's cancel that. Yes. npmi. All right, that file doesn't exist anymore. Recommendations card, let's find references. Now it's used in homepage. That's what I was expecting to see. The reason I wanted that is just to make it easier for me with ChatGPT. So I can paste this whole thing in here. All right, we're good there. So um, I may not tie completely into the search button just for sake of time. We're already longer than we were planning on going. Totally fine, no big deal. So we've got code. I'm happy with this. It's using our recommendations cards. I should have left the image so we could redo it, but we'll be fine. That looks awesome. So now what I want to do is I want to tie into that API, right? So I am going to go back to have Chat GPT open. Actually, like I said, I like writing my response elsewhere. So we are going to do a new tab. And so the first thing I want to do is I like to give it some prompts, right? So we're going to say get search, if I can spell, results. And I can actually, I'm going to go copy the API you gave me yesterday, or we can be brave and use called it what? What's the new one? We're going to do it. Why not?
It's calculate distance traveled.
Traveled. Okay, and I spelled that right. So we can give it hints saying, hey, get search results comes from here. We can say get search body, and I'm just going to go copy that JSON again so I don't do it wrong. We can say it is, right?
Yep, that's correct.
And we could even be fun just to prove it's not fake. We're doing it. All right. So we can give it these type of hints. Now I also want to say project settings, right? I am using TypeScript. So if you tell it these type of things, it can do better. React, Vite, I'm using React Vite. So just give it some hints saying, hey, this is what we're doing in, right? So that way it'll do better. Now, I can now start getting into the points that I want to do. I can also say, let's do one more up here. Actually, I'll come back to this one because it's going to fill the whole screen. Get search results JSON. And I can paste the JSON that's going to come back. So now we're telling it what's going in, what's coming back, so it knows how to fill it. So now what's really, really exciting about this, I can say, first, use the get search results with the get search body to, and I can indent this now and say, hey, I want you to do a couple things. Post to the get search results API. Pass the data to we called that one recommendations. I spelled recommendation wrong. I do that all the time. I don't know why in my mind as two C's. When I was doing the demo last night, I did it with two C's, and then I copied the code back from Chat GPT. I'm like, why won't this work? It's because it fixed my spelling. It's like, yeah, you don't want to do that. All right. Now I'm going to go copy the JSON from before and just hope it's right. Um,
Yeah, I think we may have
Let's hope
changed
you did
structure.
we change it?
I think so.
Oh, no. Okay, okay. I'm gonna go back to the other API then, because if you change the search results on me, I don't know what to say. Okay, so now that we have that there, VS Code's complaining, right? So I'm going to copy that. The reason I like doing this, if I hit enter, enter, enter inside of Chat GPT, it starts talking. And I'm like, don't, I'm not ready for it yet. And I instinctively hit enter. So I'm going to paste that in. I'm going to hit shift enter because I'm actually not done yet. And I'm going to go back to VS Code and we're going to grab the home page. Okay. We're going to paste that there. And now this is the fun part. I can say code only, please. Go. And it's not going to give me the paragraph explaining how great my code is and how all of this type of stuff, because you never really want that, right? Um, so now it's generating this code. And it
Okay.
will now go through and remove, it's grabbing the API. We told it we want to post. So it should have, yeah, it did post. It's
We're
getting
using
our callback. Does fetch places. Oh, so awesome. Wait, where's it doing that on click? We may have to do, oh, it took that click button, didn't it? I think that's what our click was called. At the top, we had the one saying to do, go do this. It did. So
course.
it filled that on click automatically for us where I said to do call that. It replaced that on call code. All right, so let's go back to Chat GPT. Let's copy this code. Now I am just, oh, wait, is it running? It's not running right now, is it? Let me undo what I just did. npm start. I want it running. So that way, um, right now I had it up on this one. Nope, not that one. Let me go find the right tab. It's this one. All right. So we have it running here, right? It's refreshed. So now we're going to go to VS Code. And actually, let's just verify. When I click this button, nothing happens, right? We could have console output it or something. We'll just go. So I'm going to paste this. I'm going to hit save. Dang it.
ChatGPT omitted some code.
No. Failed to import Axios. So it used Axios. So what we can do, I don't want to go npmi and add that. We can go back to ChatGPT and tell it, don't do that. You regenerate without using any new or any
Using fetch, we can say.
or using fetch. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll tell it to do it with fetch now. It used fetch last night when I tested it. So it's funny that it switched.
Looks
All
like
right.
it's
It's doing it. So it's really awesome how we can use something like ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot to really enhance our, you have to know a few things, right? It's going to make mistakes. I instantly had to know enough to say, oh, what's Axios? Oh, it should have, we would have had to add that package and I'm too lazy to do that. So let's switch it to fetch. Or the namings it does wrong, or it fixed my spelling and now my code doesn't compile. So things like that matters because it was trying to go load the CSS and fix the spelling on the CSS name. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for pointing out my inadequacies, AI. All right, so let's go back now, and we can now paste this, save it.
I think it's
Um,
still using Axios. It didn't.
did it?
It
It
did.
didn't remove that.
I didn't listen. Um. Also,
And then,
it's omitting some of the code, James. So can you see like where it says at the
yeah, it
middle?
still did. Would this be fetch? I don't know how to use
You can
fetch.
just remove. You can just do like fetch, and then um.
I might go. Yeah, I'm tempted to go grab my code from last night. Is it call?
No, you can just like do if you just have fetch,
Uh
you
huh.
just do fetch, like you just do await fetch, you remove the post, so you just have await fetch without the post. Yeah. So then the first thing, yeah, is like the first thing will be like the URL, and then in the second like in the object we need to specify the method and like data we want to send.
Okay, so that request ChatGPT is killing me. I wonder why it didn't do that. I wonder if we did the original call that way really quick because it still has Axios. Yeah, why didn't it switch? Did I copy the right one? I did, didn't I?
Yeah, it just didn't do it.
And it
Maybe,
did remove all of our top stuff, didn't it?
yeah. So it's giving partial code back as well. Maybe,
I I ran this last night and it worked.
yeah,
I'm
ChatGPT
just
is,
gonna go up to the top, this one, and tell it to regenerate the first response. This is what happens when you rely on AI, guys. It is awesome and it helps, but it is not perfect. So I'm going to edit this post. If I go up here and edit this, I can tell it to regenerate. It's such a big prompt. This is why I also do my prompt outside of. All right, let's go back and use. Now I'm confused what to do. I thought there was an edit there. It might have been because I already did another one. It won't let me edit now. But I thought, oh, there it is. Edit. Um, um, right here, get search results. Let's do that. Scroll down to where we tell it what to do. And we are going to tell it, I'm still in the JSON, using fetch. Okay, so now I can go down and say, I'm good. Save and submit, and it's going to regenerate for me. Let's hope it does it right this time. No Axios this time.
nice.
And let's hope it doesn't emit the entire top. Because if it does, we're going to have no way to call that fetch. All right, please do it right. Don't delete my code. Existing code remains the same.
Yeah.
I see what it's doing. Okay, so I can't just copy. We'll copy it in batches. It's being sneaky on me. Okay, that I can deal with now that I actually read the code it did. Okay, so let's go back here. We're going to do a new page and we're going to paste it in there. So that way I can grab the top part. Where's the existing? Okay. Oh, it's done that the same. Okay, so that travel, that's really, I wonder if I can tell it not to do that. So I might need to work on my prompts and tell it to do it. Oh, I forgot to tell it no talking. Um, I think I need to adjust my prompts and say export the entire code file, not just. I am not a web developer by trade. I'm usually mobile, desktop, all that type of stuff. So it's fun learning web and it's nice having, hey, that's looking a lot better so far, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because by now it already would have been like, hey, just use the existing stuff. All right. Bend the AI to our will. It's going to take longer because it's a lot more text, but that'll work. All right. And the only thing that would be left to do is then until it also populate the search results from the output as well, which I didn't do, but we can do that.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, yes. Oh, and I forgot to tell it not to talk. So now it's just going to keep talking. We'll let it keep talking to itself. All right. So I'm going to close this file or the one I just created. We're going to now paste that, save it, and import style. Something's wrong. So search results. I don't need to go. I can just do. I shouldn't have to go back. It should just be like that, right? Search results for the component. Do I?
Are you
Well,
in
no.
the same directory?
Oh no, I'm not.
No,
I
you
am in homepage, so I need to go dot dot slash components.
slash search results.
I spelled search results wrong. Spelling. Chat
Yeah.
GPT will fix your spelling. Okay. And that time I saved it. It actually worked. Updated. All right, guys. Sorry for my demo fail and my terrible spelling. Oops, wrong one. Let's go check this out. Not that one. Find the right browser window. It's this one. All right. So now if I click the search button, is the search button still tied up? That's good. It worked. I just don't have any loading indicator. You see that? And these are actual Alaskan restaurants. I've been to most of these. We didn't fix all of the
Whoa,
alignments and the
we have
things, but it worked. The
we have
only thing left that we
coded.
can do. Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, James. We have the address is hard coded. That's why it returned for that address, right? In the request.
Right, because if we look at the code, I didn't tell it to grab the values from there. Um, I told it to just go and get the. I told it just to call the API. No, no, I told it. I told it the fetch places, right? I told it
Oh,
because I
yeah.
had
So
that hard coded
yeah,
inside of the JSON request. So we can actually go into ChatGPT and hopefully it will work for us this one more time and say, also set the, what was it, search results? The search results component. And component, I spelled component right. Darn it. No. All right. Let me paste that again. Code only, please. There we go. Code only is such a lifesaver when you're dealing with this. So now that we've done that, on the response, it'll add a use state for the search info and stuff. Get that, right? So now we have both those states. It'll set those states on response. So that way, right? Set the places. So now we'll actually get that data as well. So I'm just actually going to copy just this part for now. I'm going to edit that in because I don't know if it's going to do everything. And I went from here to here. All right. And now we're going to go down to the search results and we can data mine that. So search results, that start, search results. So it was hard coded, right? So we know before the values it was showing and that reloaded. So now if we go one last time, we're going to go here. I'm going to click search. It's hitting the API. Our distance is back to 4 days, 1 hour, and 8,000. Oh, I read that as 89,000 the first time. 8,000, still a lot of money. Much better than 89,000. But you can see how we were able to use ChatGPT or GPT. I didn't write much code or any at all. We took a design, went directly from the design, made it responsive. Could have done a little bit more work to make it responsive, and output a working web app, all without writing any code, including our backend with BuildShip. So it's really, really, really exciting to see how AI tools are coming along. They're not perfect by any means. You saw what we had to do. We had to complain and tweak it and tell it to change, but it bent to our will. And now we have a working site, which is really exciting. Oh, I didn't realize I didn't have our pictures on there. I'm sorry. You guys were just looking at my screen. I messed up the layout when I switched. Um, but we are good to go. We have a working app that we could now deploy, including back end, front end. Yes, we need a little bit more work, but we could send this off and at least get our prototype done really quickly. In an hour, we built an entire app, which is pretty awesome for a
yeah,
prototype.
yeah, 100%. In comparison, guys, if you would imagine building both of these aspects of your apps from scratch, it would take more than how long have we been streaming? 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah. 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 We're under an hour and a half.
Yeah,
So super exciting. We're going to be putting this file up on our community files for Figma, so people can go and check this thing out. It'll probably take us a couple days to finish. We're going to do all those optimizations that I was saying I need to do. We'll get those optimized and we'll get that put up so people can actually try this out themselves. And yeah, thanks a lot, Lewis, for doing this with me today. I'm really excited. This was fun.
yeah, 100%, James. I really enjoyed it. Taking the idea that we had and seeing it published.
Yeah. Yeah. Working. So I expect to see you in what we'll say 5 days. So your driver has time to sleep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's considered. Yeah, that was taking the calculation considering. Yeah, we didn't sleep. So
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It was fun doing these. Hope to do more live streams like this in the future. This was really fun. Thanks for joining, Lewis.
this guy. Thank you.
All right,
Bye, guys.
bye.